job. Congratulations, because you have made it this far, which is very, very good. And I also want to, say that I'm very proud of you, because this hasn't been the easiest semester for students to be able to complete all of their video assignments, online assignments, and actually handing in your own assignments as well. So I'd like to say very well done to you. On that note, there are some students who should contact me because they have not handed in assignments. So I'm going to discuss that at the end of the video. But to start with, I'm going to take a look now at our PowerPoint and make sure that my camera is working. My apologies if you're having a hard time downloading the videos. I've tried doing it in 3 different ways, but unfortunately it doesn't seem to work for me. I don't know what I'm doing. I've tried a variety of ways, and I don't know, we'll see. Anyways, moving on. Today we're going to be taking a look at some, once again, we're going to look at your assignments from week 11, so that you can have a look and see some simple ways to improve. And we're still covering a lot of the same mistakes, so do try your best to take a look at your own assignments. And if you're working together with a partner, which I encourage, I think that's really good, have a look at each other's essays and see if you can help your partner to improve. Because remember, that's really the point of education, is for all of us to do better, because this is what we would like. If everyone's better every day, then we'll end up being very, very good humans, right? Anyway, so what I want to do first today is to talk about the plan for the final few weeks of the semester. So we're going to talk about, we're going to start, of course, with week 13, because this week we're going to be taking a look at a very simple strategy for your speaking exams, which are called conversation strategies. These are really simple ways for you to, get a little extra time, and also because sometimes it's, especially in exam situations, we get nervous. And this is a really good way to check, right, is to help yourself. So we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to talk about week 14. For week 14, for our next week, because I will not be able to give you homework. I know, I'm sure you're so sad about that. What we're going to do is we'll take a look at simple corrections and ways to fix your essays. Also, of course, I'm always available if you want to call me or if you want to email me. You're welcome to. At the end of this PowerPoint, once again, I give you my Hotmail address, and I also give you my office telephone number. So feel free to call me. Email is probably the easiest, probably the best. But if you have a question, do ask. If you're feeling shy, which of course sometimes we do, ask a classmate, call a classmate, ask your class captain, because that is why you chose them, you elected them. And ideally, ask me. Anyway, so we're going to next week just do a simple review, which is taking the place of our makeup classes for when you did teacher training in September. Week 15 will be basically the first full week of December. That will be your written test. Your written test I will explain shortly. And then we will have in week 16, which again is our replacement. We've moved back a week because of teacher training. Will be your speaking exams. Your speaking exams will be very, very simple. It will be a phone test. And I will call you and ask you to answer some questions. Okay? So let's move on now to slide number 2. Slide number 2, again, is just to show you my plan. Next week is November 29th through December 3rd. That week we will just do a simple review. I'm going to set you some questions. Just the same as what we've been doing. So I take some points that I have noticed from student assignments, and usually I try to focus on one class, for each week. But the idea is that if I'm noticing the same mistakes being made again and again and again, basically if I see 20 students doing that, then I will put it up as, a way for you to see how to improve. Again, week 15, so the week 15 will be December 6th through the 10th. That week we'll be doing the written exam assignments. It will follow the same principle as what we have done. You will have 6 days to complete the assignment and hand it in. Please be very careful because, of course, as always, if you do not hand in an assignment, that equates to an absence. So for a number of students, I already have 4 absences, and if you have 4 absences without documentation, that means that you are going to receive an F. So it's really important for me, or for you, to contact me to tell me what's happened, what's going on. If you leave it till right at the end, there's very little I can do. So please contact me now if you have any problems or issues, or if you have been absent too much, to explain what's happened, what's gone on. The speaking exams, again, will be it's basically about 5 minutes per student. So it's just a case of you do your test and then you're done. So the onus is on me rather than you. Anyways, moving now to slide number 3. So for slide number 3, we have for slide number 3 is your grading. So I just wanted to review once again what we had from our syllabus. So if you remember your attendance, you get 15 points or 15% for attendance. So basically that means if you handed in your assignment for each week on time, then you have 15 points, no problem. Participation, again, is how well you did the assignment. So as long as you handed in the assignment and it was fully completed, you again got the points. I noticed that for some students, for example, when we did the adjectives, synonyms, and antonyms, and then the second part was a paragraph, some students failed to complete one section, which meant they lost points for that particular section. Your final exams are worth 70% together. So I broke this up into 2 tests. First, of course, is the written test because that has been our main focus. And the second is the speaking test because, the idea that I'm trying to teach you with this course is that this type of writing is also a very simple strategy for giving really beautiful answers in English. It's a good approach using 5 steps. So moving on now to slide number 4. If you take a look at slide number 4, this is to give a more detailed explanation of the written exam, which will be your written exam assignment, actually, which will be from December 6th through the 10th. I guess I should explain what it is. So you will be doing an essay. You'll be following the 5-paragraph structure, which we've worked on. You will be expected to complete the assignment using all of what we have studied this semester. Of course, that's the whole point, isn't it? So what you're going to do is you're going to do an interview and then write an essay about that interview. So essentially I'll give you a number of questions to choose from, and then you'll choose a question and interview. You will be interviewed about that question. The other thing I should mention is please do not copy. Do not use translators. If I find that you have copied, you will get a 0. If I find that you have used a translator, again, I will take points from you. Do your best. I know you're not native speakers. I know English is a second language, so don't be afraid. Just do your best. This is what we're looking for. So slide number 5 is where I've moved to now. So if you take a look at slide number 5, I'm just going to check to make sure the camera is still working. It practice. Very good. Slide number 5 is an explanation of the speaking exam. So what I wanted to do here is I wanted to give you some simple strategies for your speaking test. So the first thing is I recommend that if you want to practice for your speaking exam, I mean, I guess you're probably feeling a lot of pressure right now, but if you want to practice and you want to study, which I recommend, you should look once again at the paragraph structure, how we write a paragraph, because this is what I will be looking for. So what you're going to be doing is answering questions, or a question, in paragraph form. So you can take a look through all of what we have studied this semester, and you can practice with a friend. Your friend asks you a question, you think about it, and you answer using paragraph form. Now, often what happens when we are in test situations, and this is for everyone, we do feel quite nervous. So there are some simple steps, which are called conversation strategies, which you can use if you get a little bit nervous or you're not sure what's happening. Now, one of the first and most common points that I have for students is they don't talk. So of course this is, rather difficult because I don't know if the student has understood what I have said. I don't know if the student is still there, if they've hung up, if they're left the room, or what they've done. So the first step is to show if you understand the question. So the first thing is you either respond with, okay, I understand, I see, something along those lines. Perhaps though you did not hear the question clearly. So if you don't hear a question clearly, remember that this is a test situation, so you want to be polite. So if you go, huh, or moo, or moo, then it doesn't sound very nice, number one. Number two is, anyways, point being is that you should say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't understand, could you repeat that, or something to that effect. Could you repeat that, please? Or I didn't hear you, explain what's happening, and of course I'm happy to repeat the question. Another point is if you are not sure about what I'm asking you for with the question, so you can check, ask a question to make sure you understand clearly, which is clarify. So you mean I should answer in a paragraph, is that right? So check if you're not sure. If you already understand and you already know, you don't need to ask. These are not questions that you have to ask. These are questions to help you if you are not clear, if you are not sure. So I'm now on the third point, the maximum 30 seconds to think. So what happens is that often students get very nervous. And in this situation, some students go to their translator. Please do not use a translator for this. I don't want you to be using a computer. I can use the computer. I want to hear what you think and what your, how you compose your answers. So what we're looking for is for you to say, okay, please wait a minute, or just a minute, please, and then think about your 3 points that you're going to talk about in your paragraph answer. So once you say just a moment, please, you give yourself a few seconds to think. And these are all questions that we have done throughout the semester. I'm not going to be giving you a completely new question. So you think about it, and then you answer the question. If I hear you typing again, you will lose points right away. So please don't use translators. Just do your best. I have faith in you. You've been great. So to finish the interview, of course, we will say goodbye. So don't hang up on me because it's very rude. So when we're done, I will say thank you very much, and you respond with thank you, and you can say have a nice day, or you can ask, am I finished? Because sometimes students don't finish clearly, but remember that's what we use a conclusion for. So as long as you give your conclusion sentences clearly, then I will know you're finished, and that will be that. So we can end, you say goodbye, and have a nice vacation. Moving now to slide number 6. So slide number 6 is actually the meat of our video this week. So, you know, when we talked about the hamburger, like the meat tends to be the heavy part of the hamburger, the most important part. So for this week, what we're going to be doing is focusing on how to make your essays better, and of course we're going to practice. So what we're going to do is take a look back at your week 11 homework assignments, and again we're going to look to see how you can improve. So I've broken this up into 3 steps again. So the first step is just simple corrections. I have a paragraph that I took from a student, and it was a great paragraph, very good paragraph. But points would have been taken for some really simple mistakes. So that's the first step, is to look for these simple mistakes. Remember, if you find your mistakes, you get more points. If I find the mistakes, you lose more points. So what do you think is better? I'm hoping you said that you finding your mistakes is better, you fix them, you get more points. The second step is I looked at some sentence level mistakes that were quite common. Overall, I thought the paragraphs were well done. I really liked them. But again, we had some simple issues. So I think, again, at the sentence level, we can find some ways to fix it, make your writing better. And the third step was about the paragraph shape again, because we still have a number of students who are making these mistakes. So let's take a look together and see if you can figure out what's going on. So I have moved now to slide number 7. So if you take a look at slide number 7, this is for week 11 assignments. How can we improve this assignment? This is our first one. So what I'd like you to do is pause the video. I'll give you, 10 seconds now to have a look through. And if you need more time, pause the video, look through. Please take your time. And we'll talk about it in a few seconds. Okay, well let's read it together, because this is important, but I worry that students skip this step. Anyway, so we have our title, My Artistic and Interesting Friend. Lovely title, but I'm hoping, notice right away what is missing. And then we have no student name, no student number, which should always be there, even if you're writing a separate paragraph. We do have a starting space, which is excellent. And we start with, let me introduce my classmate, Jin Hyun. He is a gourmet, which is underlined as the first detail, excellent. Has a sense of movement, which was very interesting. I wasn't quite sure what that meant. Maybe a sense of music. And has a musical talent. So we have, first, he distinguishes the taste of chicken very well. That means to me that he can tell if he's eating beef or chicken or pork. Okay? And he knows how to make a very delicious chicken seasoning. Next, he is very good at playing ball. In particular, he's good at volleyball and teaches well, so is very helpful. Finally, he listens to a lot of various music and aware of it. Surprisingly, he recommends old music well. In conclusion, he has a good sense of taste, knows a lot of music, and is good at sports. This is why I like this artistic and interesting friend. I really liked how you ended with the title, because that brought it right back to the beginning, which is very good. It probably would have been better if you could have used synonyms. We did study that. But anyways, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some simple ways to improve. So if we take a look at the following slide, so where are we? Slide number 8. We notice that I've corrected in red, because although I prefer using other colors, red is a bold color. It's very bright and easy to see, so this is what we're using. So my artistic and interesting friend, we need capital letters because it's a title. I also recommend that you put your student number, student name, and major in because it's very good practice. It's also good practice for you to be writing your name in English because I noticed that many students simply translate directly from Korean to English, but remember that English and Korean are a little bit different in the way we write names. So in Korean we write the family name first, the given name second, but in English it's opposite. So please remember that. So let me introduce my classmate Jin Hyung. He's a gourmet. He has a sense of movement and has, I would just say, musical talent rather than a. If you say a musical talent, it means he only has one, and my impression for this is that you want to say that he is talented musically. Now, the first and biggest mistake in this paragraph was after a comma using a capital letter. Once again, this in English is not allowed. It is wrong. After a comma, it is always a small letter because you're continuing a sentence. A comma is just a brief pause. It's not ending the sentence. So we have first and then comma, small h. He distinguishes the taste of chicken very well. I felt that you were talking about the different types of chicken flavors. So we were talking about different tastes, different flavors of chicken. Now, and does not start a sentence. Remember, and connects sentences unless you are, a writer as a profession, which you're not. So please don't do that. Remember that when we use he, she, it in English, in present tense, we always add an S. He knows how to make a very delicious chicken seasoning. Next, comma, again, remember, small h, he. You could have changed, we've got he, which again, we've got maybe 10 he's here. So I feel like you should be using synonyms for he. So you could have done Jin Hyung, my friend, my classmate, I'm not sure if he's your classmate. So you should be using synonyms for he because saying he is not a high skill level. Anyways, next one. So he's very good at playing ball, in particular, comma, and again we need small h. He's good at volleyball and he teaches it well. He teaches volleyball well, so he's very helpful. Or this is very helpful maybe. Finally, comma, again small h, he listens to. Now we have a lot of, and we have various. So I think what you were going for was that he listens to a number of types of music, a lot of types of music. So a lot of and various actually are kind of synonyms here, I think. So I got rid of one. A lot of types of music, and he's aware of it all. I wasn't sure about aware of what you were going for there. Anyways, surprisingly, comma, small h, again, he, and I think what you're looking for here is he strongly recommends old music, rather than he's good at recommending old music. If you put well at the end, it means that he recommends something. He does a good job of recommending it. But if you want to say strongly, that he strongly recommends something, then we want really or strongly recommends old music. In conclusion, again, we've got the small h coming after the comma. So I'm hoping that you saw this and you're taking note of these simple ways for you to develop your essays, to develop your skill, which means to get more points. So moving on now to slide number 9. Slide number 9 is week 11, how can we improve 2? So what I would like you to do here is, we'll read through it together because I think that is helpful. And then we'll give you some time, I will give you some time to think about how you can improve. So as we're reading, think about it, and then we'll look again. Number 1, this title is My Mom I Like the Most. Number 2, I'm going to talk about Kim Ji-soo. Number 3, I want to talk about Seung Hyo-tae, who has always been interviewed for English assignments. Number 4, I know him when I was 11 years old. Number 5, Jim Soo Kim's childhood is interesting. Number 6, he was originally a soccer player. Number 7, to begin with, pretty and beautiful Jisoo often wears neat and pretty clothes. Number 8, first, he's very kind. He's always willing to help when he meets a difficult person along the way. Number 9, the second characteristic of him is that he is humorous. Number 10, third, he's a very good guy. Now, something that I did think was done very well was that most students did underline their first, second, and third details, which I thought was very well done. So, I'll give you 10 seconds now. If you need a little more time, pause the video, see if you can figure out some ways to improve these 10 points. Go. Okay, so I'm going to move on. Again, if you need more time, just pause the video and take a look. So if we take a look at slide number 10, we can see some simple corrections. So for number 1, the title, I hope you noticed that first and foremost, the capitals were missing. We need capital letters. Please do not put a period or a jum in the title. There's not a jum, it's not a sentence. So we should capitalize the first letters. And also, if we take a look at slide number 9's title, My Mom I Like the Most, it implies that you have more than one mom, because you say, I like this mom the most. That means out of all of your other mothers. And I don't think you have more than one mom. Possible. I mean, the world is an interesting place to be, so who knows. So I think perhaps what you were trying to say is, I like my mom the most. Out of all the people in the world, out of all my family members, my mom's the best. So I adapted your sentence to reflect that, or your title rather. Number 2, I'm going to talk about, please remember that in English, the family name comes last. So I'm going to talk about Jisoo Kim. Number 3, I want to talk about Jisoo Kim. So, I use the same name all the time because I want to, sometimes I worry that students will be maybe a little embarrassed if they have their work here, but you should never be, because, we work together to improve, right? So please don't be worried about having any of your work up here. It doesn't mean it's bad. It's just an example of what many students have done. A sample, that's all. So I try to change the names, but it's not a big deal at all. Number 3, I want to talk about Jisoo Kim, who I have always interviewed for English assignments, is much clearer. Have always been interviewing is awkward. Remember, simple is best. So if we take a look at the original one, who has always been interviewed for English assignments, reflect that, everybody goes to that person to do it, to do these assignments, to do the interviews. But I think what you're trying to say is that you interviewed the same student all the time. So you need to put yourself in there. I have always interviewed Jisoo for English assignments. Number 4. Number 4 was interesting because this is, it's quite difficult to reflect what you want to say. So in this case, I think what you want to say is, I have known him starting from since I was 11 years old. Or if you want to use simple past tense, you can say, I met him when I first met him, maybe, when I was 11 years old. If you say, I have known him since I was 11 years old, it reflects that you met him when you were 11 and you have stayed in contact ever since. If you say, I met him when I was 11 years old, it just shows that you met him. It doesn't mean you still know him unless the rest of the paragraph reflects that. Number 5, please watch your spelling. I got a lot of this. Jim-soo is not the person's name, it's Jisoo. So please be careful not to add letters, and I got letters switching as well. And then because we're talking about the person's childhood, and you conducted an interview and you finished the interview before you wrote, this should be past tense. So you want to say that the childhood was interesting, or the childhood interview was interesting, you could also say. Number 6, do be careful about this. This is very common because, and especially I think you'll find this with a lot of your young learners, they overcorrect. So they apply a rule to everything which doesn't apply to everything. Remember that if we say the next letter that follows should either be a vowel, A-E-I-O-U, or have a vowel sound. But soccer, the S is not a vowel and it doesn't have a vowel sound, so it's just up. He was originally a soccer player. Number 7, again, watch your spelling. Begin does not have an E. After a comma, we should have a small letter P. And again, use synonyms. So rather than saying pretty and pretty, why don't you change pretty and get a synonym? Attractive clothes, lovely clothes, something along those lines. Number 8, first, he's very kind. He's always willing to help when he meets a person. A difficult person would be a person that makes problems. So I feel like what you're trying to say is that person has problems. So what you'd say is a person with difficulties. Along the way, I don't think you really need, it just seems like extra words to me. Number 9. So rather than the second characteristic of him, why don't you just say his second characteristic? Much simpler, much clearer, and it sounds much more fluent. Number 10, third, don't forget your articles. He is a very good guy. All right, we're going to move on now to slide number 11. So slide number 11 is our third, week 11, how can we improve? So what I'd like you to do is to read through this and see how you can improve this paragraph, okay? Now, my main point for this is paragraph shape, okay? So hopefully, if I give you a big wink there, you can see something about the shape that we can improve. So take a look through it and see if you can find how to improve it. I'll give you 10 seconds now, and if you need more time, then you can pause the video after we continue. Okay? Go for it. Okay, so I'm going to take a look now. What I'd like to do is move on to slide number 12. Again, if you need a little more time, pause the video and have a look and see if you can figure out some ways to improve. So again, we've got no capital letters in the title, which we need, you must have. We also had a period in the title, which you cannot have. And I feel like actually park is not important to this. What you're trying to point out is that you think this person is the best elementary school teacher. The end. So we can just get rid of everything else. I mean, that's your main topic. Now, remember to start with, we need that space to show we're starting a new paragraph. And I got to know him. So the title is actually separate from the paragraph, so you should once again introduce who it is you're talking about, give the name. So I'm inclined to say you could actually give their full name, but if you don't want to, that's okay, but remember, use a title, Mr. Park. And then it was a little bit difficult the way that this student had written about when he was a student. I assume this is at GNUE, but I'm not sure. So remember, if you have to say what you want to say, because I'm just guessing, but so he is a practical education student, so maybe he is a GNUE practical education student from 2014. A 14th grader means that he is in university first year or second year. So then you said that he graduated from school, so I feel like you're saying from 2014. So remember, simple and straightforward, direct is best. So he currently works as an elementary school teacher after graduating from school. He has a very large physique and a warm appearance. Now, this is our first step for making this a paragraph. remember a paragraph fits together, so it looks like a block, right? Paragraph shape. So what I did here is, and I'm going to show you here. So we have our first period, and then the next sentence comes right after the period. So first should come directly after the period, and the same when we take a look at second. So if we put it together, we end up with this beautiful shape rather than separate chunks of text. Also we have here finally. So first, second, and finally should come directly after the period of the sentence before. Looking at our second sentence for the second detail, we have however. Instead of however the overall features, I think you're talking about him, this Mr. Park. So his overall features are clear, which make him look very warm. So again, please be careful about whether you're using an article or whether you're actually talking about a person's features. Also, once again, at the end, we have, if you think of the style of teacher, you will think of a hard look, like a suit. Then we put a comma, but his clothes are casual as well as dandy. And then remember, at the end, we're still keeping all these sentences connected. We have the period, and then we put I directly after. And then I ended again, I replaced these aspects of him, I replaced with his name. So we come right back to the beginning again, Mr. Park, and we have improved this paragraph. So simple corrections, but I think that these are really effective corrections, and I feel like 90% of students, perhaps even higher, maybe 95% of students, make all of these mistakes. So take a look at your work and see how you can improve. Anyways, moving on to slide number 13. So what's the point? Why am I telling you this? Basically, I'm trying to point out some simple ways to develop your essays. I want you to get the highest points you possibly can. You all have very good skill, whether you know it or not. I have been reading your assignments every week, and I can see the improvements. You've gone from much simpler sentences and very short, abrupt writing to longer sentences, more informative, and better details. So, how to make your essays better? First of all, check yourself. So I've given you 10 points, 5 on this slide and 5 on the following. Number 1, I would like you to think about what questions were good in your interviews. So what questions give you good answers that you can use? And these are the types of questions that you want to be asking more of. So were they open questions, closed questions, tag questions? And remember, there's a variety of questions we can use. You don't want to stick to just one, but some are definitely more effective. Number 2, think before you write. This is, you can use brainstorming or mind mapping, it doesn't matter. But it's really important to at least think about it before you write. What are your details? What do you want to do before you start? This is really important. So do it. Number 3, don't forget, please, that it is 5 paragraphs which make one essay. This is a very basic writing format, a very basic writing skill, which is why you're learning it. University level, this is a must. And I think for you teaching English to young learners, you can definitely start this, in grade 3, 100%. Anyways, but we're writing at university level, so you're writing a higher level. Number 4, don't forget, please, when you write your title, use capital letters in your title. No jums, no periods, but we need those capital letters. Number 5, please remember to always even if you use your name and your student number in the subject heading for your file name, you still have to write your name, your student number, and your major on your piece of writing, on your essay. Also remember, you know how to write your name in English, and you need to use capital letters for your name. Moving now to the second part. So this is our second 5 points for how to develop your essays and make them better. Number 1, this is something that I notice many students are not doing, and I'm not sure why, but you need to have 2 sentences for each part of your paragraph. So your introduction is 2 sentences, detail 1, 2 sentences, detail 2, 2 sentences, detail 3, 2 sentences, and your conclusion 2 sentences. This is a very effective format. It's very balanced and very clear. So even though you might feel like it's a little bit too structured, trust me, it works. So within those parameters, you can do as you wish. Number 2, you have 2 conclusion sentences for each paragraph in your essay. I have noticed that many students are only using 1, or they're not writing a conclusion at all. If you don't write your conclusion, you will lose points immediately. You have to have it. Number 4, edit yourself. There are some simple ways to check. So, number 1, I interviewed Beauty's questions. How can you interview questions? You can't. So remember to make sure that when you're using English, you're not translating directly always, but you should make sure that you're thinking about what you're writing and that it does reflect what you mean to say. I asked Beauty, the person, questions. Okay. My partner likes tteokbokki, but I don't. I like ramen. There are 2 issues with this. The first one, and the main one is, Korean, you're welcome to use Korean whenever you want to. I love Korean. I'm not good at it, but I love it. But we want to be able to communicate internationally. This is why we study English. So what we should be using is English letters for Korean. And that way, anyone can read it. The second point is please don't use contractions. Don't should be do not, because it's a higher skill level. And third, of course, is that you should be focusing on your partner, not you. So please, please, please be careful about these points. I'm just going to change my order to reflect the way that I have stated it. Okay, and last, my final point for this particular section for how to improve your essays is review. So once you have finished your essay, and you have enough time, remember to give yourself enough time to do this because it's a very simple way for you to get points. When you finish, check through. Give yourself some time off. Walk away from your essay. I would suggest at least 30 minutes. Go have a cup of coffee, have a nice cool drink, something, and walk around a little bit, take your mind off of it, and then, after a while, go back, read through it again, and find any mistakes. Fix them yourself. And that brings us to our homework. So moving now to slide 15, if you take a look here, this is your week 13 homework, part 1. So we have 2 parts this week again. Part 1 is check yourself. So what I'd like you to do is go back to your week 12 essay details, number 1, number 2, and number 3, and write them down with their numbers. So this is your part 1 for the homework. If we go to slide 16, this is your part 2 for the homework. So week 13, part 2 is for your week 12 homework, okay, for last week. You chose one of these questions and you wrote about it. Week 13 is to choose another question, not the same question, but another question from these 5 and write about it. You can choose whichever one you want. It doesn't matter too much. But it should be a different question to what you chose last week. The reason is that I want you thinking about these different points. Slide number 17 is your homework assignment part 2 is to write a 5-paragraph essay about this new question for this week. Please remember to include your articles, use powerful words with synonyms, don't repeat the same words over and over again because you don't need to. Use the rules that we have studied because this is practice moving for your final exam. Use those transition words. You're doing a great job with that. And use adjectives. Describe the people. Describe the nouns that you're using in your essay because it makes it much more enjoyable to read. Much more enjoyable. So moving to slide number 18, do you remember what transition words are? I'm just going to put these up here to remind you. So detail 1 we have to start, for example, to begin with. Detail 2, next, then also. Detail 3, finally, lastly. In conclusion and in summary, you can put at the end as well. Now, you don't need to use these for every section of every paragraph, but they should be put in there in, so that it's clear which direction you're going in. I also suggest very strongly don't use first, second, third because it's boring and it's low level. I would teach that to my elementary school students, but since you're university level, I know you can do better than that. Moving to slide number 19, don't forget your conclusion paragraph. Please, please, please. The conclusion paragraph is your paragraph number 5. Once again, remember that we use this to restate and summarize all of the important information that you've put in your essay, but it is similar to your introduction paragraph, but it's not the same. You're using different words. This is where you really show your skill level for vocabulary. It has to be there, and please, please, please don't give new information. Remember, your focus still is your subject, okay? Moving on to slide number 20, you've got 2 to go, and then you're done. Excellent job, you've made it. Now, this is really important, is absences. So what I want to do is I'm going to tell you how many students have 4 absences in each of these classes. And if you are one of these students, please contact me so we can figure out what's happening. If you did not submit an assignment, this means you were absent. If I have no assignment, it means you were absent. If you have 4 absences, it means you get an F. Now, if I take a look at my ethics majors, which is our number 1, so first year, first class, I have 1 student currently who is getting an F because they did not submit 4 weeks. They were absent when we were in class, and then we have 3 weeks of assignments that were not submitted. For my class 2, the Korean majors, I have 1 student right now who is receiving an F. So if you are that student, if you have not submitted 4 assignments, please contact me. For my class 4, my math majors, wonderful. We have nobody. Only a few students were absent, so it looks like my math majors are doing very well. I'm very happy with that. My PE majors, physical education majors, again, excellent. Very good job. No students that have missed 4 assignments or have been absent 4 times. Moving to my practical arts majors. Practical arts majors, my 9th class, 1. I have 1 student right now who has been absent twice and did not submit 2 assignments. So for that student, please contact me if you do not want to receive an F. And anybody else? for my computer majors, again, excellent. We have nobody who is currently receiving an F. So remember, again, if you have any questions at all, but especially about these absences, if you have not submitted assignments, please contact me now, right away. Don't wait. I know maybe you might feel shy. Don't worry about that. Just get it done. If you want to, you can contact me by email. My email is here, sarkley@hotmail.com. Or you can call me at my office, which I also have given you the number for my office here. And our final slide. So just a quick recap, summary. If we take a look at slide 21, once again, this is your week 13 essay, or your homework assignment, I should say. This is your second practice essay. So the first part is to find the 3 details from your week 12 essay and write them in a list. Detail 1, detail 2, detail 3. Part 2 is to choose a new question from that list that I gave you on slide 16, and I have given you again here, and write an essay about it. Okay, I hope you have a wonderful week. Stay warm because it's getting chilly, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.